Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. So, we will be reading page 35 all the way to, let's see, all the way to 40. Do you think we can make that far tonight? I think so, because it's very short passages. 35 to 40. Okay? All right? A world in turmoil, the origin of conflict. The Brahmin Amadana approached the Venerable Mahakachana, exchanged friendly greetings with him and asked him, why is it? So, page 35, a world in turmoil. And in here, in this chapter, the Brahmin Aramandana actually approached the Venerable Mahakachana and asked him, why Khatyas fight with Khatyas, and Brahmins fight with Brahmins, and householder fight with householder. You know, these are different castes in India. Yeah? And how does the Venerable actually reply to him? Why do they fight? Sensual or sexual? Okay. All right, good. Very good. The first one is sensual desires. So, why would you think that Khatyas and Brahmins fight with each other because of sensual desires?
Desire and want.
Yeah, but why would they actually just fight because of sensual desires?
They want what the other person has. So they want to take it from them.
They want to take it from them, yeah. And also, huh? Craving, that's very common. And greed, yeah. What does that mean? What does that tell you about these two classes of people? They are definitely, they are unenlightened. But are they yet on the path yet? No, right? So, and because of that sensual pleasures, they start to, well, because of this, they fight because of these sensual pleasures. They actually, there is a strong attachment to these sensual pleasures, right? The first one is the attachment. And then what is the next one? The adherence. So what is there any difference between an attachment and adherence?
Adherence, you mean stuck on it?
Stuck on it. But what about attachment? You just want it. Huh? Holding on to it. But adherence, you are stuck. Okay? So that these are two different mindset. Okay? And then fixation. So what is fixation from adherence then? Obsession. Then what is addiction to fixation? taking it in. So fixation is less of an addiction, isn't it? Addiction is stronger than fixation, okay? And then the next one is real obsession. Real obsession. Obsession, that means you are like constantly 24/7 thinking about that sensual pleasure, wanting that sensual pleasure. And the last one is really holding it firmly. So you can see this is actually stages of attachment to sensual pleasures, right? For the Katyas. And so, in the Brahmins. So attachment, adherence, fixation, addiction, obsession, holding firmly, that's to sensual pleasures. And we can see these two classes of people in those days, actually they are not practitioners. They don't start to practice at all. Because what the Buddha has taught us is the first thing is to try to detach, learn how to detach, right? Learn how to not to fix on certain sensual pleasures, because sensual pleasure, any attachment, adherence, fixation, addiction, obsession, holding firmly on any sensual pleasure bounds to bring sufferings, dukkha, right? So that's the Katyas. And then the next one is, he said, so why would ascetic fight with aesthetics? Ascetics. It's the same, isn't it? So what do ascetics hold on to? Yeah, the views. So it's the same thing. Attachment, excuse me, adherence, fixation, addiction, and obsession, and holding firmly. So why would ascetics different from Katyas? Yeah. What do ascetic do? They renounce the material world. So they go into the forest and like bare body, except a piece of cloth maybe, and very minimal food a day, right? So ascetics are already starting to actually learn how to let go of sensual pleasures, the attachment on sensual pleasures, but they still have all these concepts and views and thinking in their mind. That's why when we don't agree with each other, we start to fight, or we start to get upset, right? And why do we get upset when we have different views? Obsession of what? Yeah, but what does it bring? Obsession with views, what does it bring? What is the back? Ego, yeah. And when there is an ego, there is pride. What does Lotus Sutra say? Arrogance, right? The arrogance is, I am always right. I am telling you that I am right and you are wrong. Don't we always do that? We don't need to be an ascetics. We're constantly falling into that trap. So the next one is that, so why do beings live in hate? Why do we live in hate? Why do we live in hate? What does it say in here? We just read it. That's why it's nice to read it over and over again, so you will remember. Because of envy. Huh? Yeah, the lack of generosity. This is a very difficult word to pronounce. Nicodemus. Nicodemus? Dinus? Oh, D-I-N, yeah. Nicodemus? Okay. Nicodemus, that's 小氣啊，小氣啊，so stingy, right? Lack of generosity. So, why do you think this envy and Nicodemus would push people to live in hate? Why would envy push people to live in hate? Huh?
They want something somebody else has. They don't like that because they want it somebody else has.
Not necessarily they want it.
You just feel like you don't have enough.
Okay. You said somebody wants something that they don't have, and you said that they're not content with whatever
With
they
what
have.
I have.
Okay.
It's that new phone thing.
Yeah.
I have the new phone even though mine works perfectly well.
Yeah.
When you start going, well, how can I get it? I gotta get it.
Yeah. Okay.
Or to destroy something that someone has.
To destroy something that someone has. Oh, that's great. Good. Very good. This is all out of jealousy, isn't it? All out of jealousy, and thinking that I deserve this, and you don't deserve that. How come you have that? I don't have that. That is jealousy. That's a very, very, very. It's actually a very difficult trait. That causes so much conflicts in human relationships, Envy, that jealousy. Is jealousy the same as envy? Huh? Almost, eh?
Yeah.
Very similar, yeah. So, because of this, that's why there is actually very likely, if in a community, if there are people who are jealous, it's actually it could really disrupt the community, very easy to disrupt and destroy the community. So we need to really see this. If we do have that trait in ourselves, we really need to calm it down. And how does this arise? How does this arise? What did it say in the literature? How these arise? Liking and disliking. I like it and I don't like it. Yeah, that's easy, right? And because of what that we will have liking and disliking? Desire. And because of what that we have desire? Thinking. And because of what that we start to think? Just read from the book. Elaborated perceptions. What is elaborated perceptions? 妄見啊，妄見，妄想嘅見解。妄見. What is elaborated perceptions?
Persevering on something, like thinking about it all the time.
Yeah, like very attached, and this is actually, it could be a very dispersed, wandering thought. It's not like a beneficial, constructive thought. It's like you overly elaborated a thought, a view or a thought. Just you keep it there, like churning it away, snowballing it. Yeah. So when that snowballing perception becomes so strong, it really affects our thinking, doesn't it? So you look at this from there, elaborated perceptions, and to thinking, and then when this thinking is, I need this, no, this phone is no good, I need this phone, I need a new phone, then then that comes that desire. And because of that desire, we have this liking and disliking. Okay, even though it seems that it's a four steps process, but it is not a 4 steps process. It could happen like all together, because it's a chain of reaction that can happen they can happen so close together, right? So it doesn't really say, okay, 1 step and then next step and then next one. No. Okay. So that's why when this envy or nicodemus huh? Whatever. It's a very funny term. I don't like to pronounce this word. Nicodemus. Nicodemus, whatever. When this emotions start to arise, or this mindset start to come up, it already actually, before it comes up, these already happened. Okay, so we remember we need to deal with, is not to deal with here. We need to start dealing it from here and from here and from here and from here. So that's why the way it is actually wonderful for us to actually deal with this one, liking and disliking, the way it is, right? The way it is, and no expectations, just the way it is. It tastes good, it's good. It doesn't taste good, it's just food, right? So when we actually brush down this liking and disliking, and eventually this envy and nicodemus would start to really be brushed down. Okay, so but bear in mind, this in a community is very hurtful. Okay, very hurtful in a community, even in family. But like if you have a few children, then if one child is more jealous of the other child, it's going to be very destructive. The relationship between the siblings will not be good, right? And the relationship between the parents and the children will not be harmonious either. And the children will always think that, oh, mommy and daddy are always like looking after this one. They pay more attention to that one than me, yeah, because of envy and lack of generosity. So these all arise because of this dark chain of reaction, of causation. And this dark chain of causation, it starts from feeling, okay? And it said in dependence upon feeling, there is craving. So we know this is actually very true for people who are in addiction, yeah, in addiction to alcohol, to pornography, to gambling, or to fast driving like crazy. Like you can see some on the highway, some people like this. There is because they enjoy that fast zoom, pass by everybody, on the highway. They enjoy that I'm sure that they enjoy, having that kind of speed. So with this craving, there comes a pursuit, right? Oh, I want to race a car. Zoom, go. They pursue on such an action, and when they pursue, they will gain. Oh, they will gain what? They will gain satisfaction. Don't think that satisfaction is always in the positive sense. Okay, satisfaction could be on a negative sense, or could be on a destructive sense. And with this, then they will make a wrong decision. Okay, and it says in dependence upon gain, there is decision making. So they will make, okay, I want to have this kind of feeling. So I will go and get into the car and then drive fast. And driving fast down the road, there is such a strong feeling. Yeah? I don't know what kind of feeling that they have, but there's definitely some feeling. And then, because of this lust, then they will decide to do things. And why do we have this desire and lust? It's all because, come back down to it, is attachment. I'm just putting those paragraphs into diagram. It's easy to understand. And possessiveness. And why would we have attachment? Because of possessiveness. I want it. I want it. I want to have it. So we want to possess it. And with possessiveness, there comes this niggardliness. And with this lack of generosity, we would try to defend. Don't take away my stuffed toy, the child said. Don't take away. So they will hold on to it. Don't want you to take it to even to wash, right? Don't take it away. So then, there comes the big thing. That's the end result of all these, of that path. Actually, it seems to be a very complicated path, but it is not. But you can see from a feeling all the way to the state when we start to perform unwholesome deeds. It says unwholesome things. That I think is unwholesome deeds, because it says here, it's so strange. Unwholesome things arise. Oh, the taking up of clubs and weapons, conflicts, quarrels, disputes, insults, slander, and falsehood. So I think the deeds would be better than things. Things seems to be very inanimate, right? Right? Deeds would be more animate. Because of that feeling, starting to have that craving for that kind of feeling, and eventually it ends up in these various unwholesome deeds. And it seems to be such a complicated path, but this path with so many steps, 11 steps. 11 steps, from first one being feeling, the last one various unwholesome deeds. 11 steps. But think of ourselves. Think of ourselves. When we start to crave something, when we start to crave for something, and there is such a strong feeling arising, until we start to act, how much time lapsed between? Flick of moment, yeah. Flick of moment. So, you know what, with meditation, we just want to what? Extend that flick of moment to longer moments. So that we don't, from the first step all the way to step 11, we don't react so fast, so on such an impulse, instantly. Okay? So we want to slow it down. And this whole chapter is talking about the turmoils in the world. Okay, so the next turmoil that it is talking about is the roots of violence and oppression. There's really not much to explain in these passages. The roots of violence and oppression, and it says in here, people are overpowered by greed. Greed, hatred, delusion of every kind are unwholesome. And whatever action is a greedy, hating, and deluded person heaps up by deeds, words, or thoughts, that too is unwholesome. So, an unwholesome thought will bring on unwholesome actions. That's all because of distorted mindset. So, the distorted mindset is this distorted thinking and distorted view. With distorted thinking and with distorted view, definitely, we will act in very distorted way, right? That is on page 36, end of page 36 and top of page 37. So with all this distorted view, distorted human mind, conflicts arise, and injustice, and a lot of times domination, right? And violence, and because of our attitudes and our perception and perspective. And if the perception is distorted, the perception is distorted, the perspective will be distorted. Perspective is distorted, all the views, all the thoughts will be distorted. And then follow will be all the actions will be distorted. So it's always, you can see from these few passages, it's actually always is like a chain reaction. And you can see from these few passages that actually the mind is actually a very complicated system. And it is not as simple as we think. There's this straightforward mind. No. It's actually a very complicated and fast reacting faculty, right? So in order to understand our mind better, in order to actually hold it on, allow it to be more calm and stable and clear and balanced, that's when meditation had to set in. Without this mindfulness, you won't notice how complicated this mind is, and how does this mind start to react, and where does that reaction come from? Yeah. So, reflections. We all would like to live in peace and harmony, right? Who doesn't? Put your hand up. We all do, right? We all do. But why is it not always the case? Yeah, attachment to views and ego. So many. Expectations, yeah. Expectations from others, from the outside world, right? And sometimes expectation of ourselves too. If we cannot do it, then we lose that peace. We started pointing fingers at ourselves. Rather than pointing fingers outside, we can always point fingers at ourselves too, right?
And not seeing things clearly.
Yeah, and not accepting things clearly, accepting things the way it is, right? So, is this wish to live in peace and happiness far from true with the reality? No?
Have the ability to detach or not so attached to your view and be a bit more wholesome, then it's not that far.
Okay, good, yeah. Very optimistic, isn't it?
Lotus Sutra.
Lotus Sutra. Yeah, we can all be a Buddha, right? Yeah. What do you think?
I think with the practice of mindfulness, we begin to lessen and lessen, because
Yeah.
travel a better path.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
all
yeah.
starts with being aware that we're trying to be on a better path.
Yeah, 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 great. Good, 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 good. So that's good. Don't lose hope. You say, oh no, I have no hope. Oh, I'm hopeless. No, don't say that. We all are hopeful. Very hopeful. Okay? So keep doing it. And what kind of mindset and attitude can allow us to live peacefully and happily? It says right here, so cut out all those arrows. Right? Yeah? Taking out all those arrows from this dark chain of causation.
That's it.
Yeah, reverse it, right? Or even find an exit out of it. Right? If you cannot reverse all the steps, at least go one in one of these arrows. Just take a way out, right here. Just find a way out from any arrow, from any path right here. Just find an exit. Just leave. Just cut it out. He said, I'm going to cut it out. Cut it out. And you have to really diligently cut it out all the time. On the same spot. You know, in the Zen teaching, it says one in order to actually attain some benefits or really seeing the truth about existence, and we need to work so diligently and ardently and persistently, like what? Like a rat. Like a rat eating into a coffin. Cascade. Cascade? Is that cascade? Casket? You know why? In the old days, I don't know whether it's happened. It is common in here in the West, but in the East, when people die, they will put them into a funeral parlor. Not really a funeral parlor, into a parlor where they sit there for some time, for the family to mourn for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years. Or some, they don't have families, they'll be put into those parlors. We still have one of those parlors in Hong Kong. There's still some there being not, like, no family. Go and take them. Then there are rats all around, right? So rats know that there is a dead body in there, and they want to eat that dead body. So they will chew into those coffins. But the Chinese coffins are really thick, solid wood, very thick. It's not like here the flimsy wood, plywood, or particle board. It's really thick wood. So the rats would go in every night, but they won't go to chip on other spots. They will chip on the same spot every day, every night, until it gets into there. So in the Zen teaching, that means the Chinese Chen teaching, it says being a practitioner, we need to practice like that. Like the mindset of the rat wanting to actually eventually be able to eat the body, to sustain its own life. That's how we should practice to sustain our spiritual life. It's not easy because of all this craving and all this pursuit and gain and desire and lust. It's not easy, but it could be possible. Right, let's go back to here. Reflections, right? So what kind of mindset and attitude can allow us to live peacefully and happily?
I'm just thinking if we apply that chain of causation to trying to become liberated.
Yeah, it's true. That chain of causation is the whole key. It's the whole key. If we can actually cut it out, anywhere, you just cut it out, it cannot go on. So that's why meditation is so helpful, because you can cut out from the feeling part, right? So you want to go back to here? Which is the easiest to cut out? If you don't have craving, but there is no pursuit. But really, no craving? When you see tons of beautiful strawberries and blueberries there, you just keep eating. There's a lot of craving in there. Dilly bar? I'm not very craving on dilly bars anymore. So I think it's the easiest one is on feeling. Really, because it's more tangible. Like especially the physical feeling, right? When we eat the tons of strawberries and blueberries in our mouth, inside, put it in the mouth, and we'll feel that feeling of the fruits inside our mouth. That feeling, if you start to actually crave for more of that feeling, or you start to observe more of that feeling, is a totally different thing, totally different perspective. So the feeling part is actually, I think, for myself, I think that is the easiest way to actually stop this cycle going. And remember the 12 links of dependent origination. Yeah? At 6 o'clock, there is this feeling. At 12 o'clock, there's ignorance, right? So feeling, because of this feeling, we really will start to want this craving. We love it, we like it, and we start to grasp on it. And then when we start to grasp, we become somebody. We become somebody else. We're not that same person anymore. Right? A hungry rat compared to a full belly rat, a well-fed rat, is totally different. The mentality is totally different. With different mentality, we will pursue differently. Right? So for myself, I think this feeling part is actually a very, very wonderful place to actually get yourself grounded in. Yeah. It's not easy, but it is very possible to actually progress faster on feeling part than other than all other parts of this chain. So if we are facing difficult relationships, how can we maintain the balance of the mind? So ask yourself, all right? It is really not easy. It is really not easy when we are facing difficult relationships. You always have to come back. You really always have to depend on the teachings. Always arouse yourself. Always arouse your mind to go back to find the right teachings for you to actually deal with that difficult relationships. If you just try to actually analyze that relationship on your mundane human mind level, I tell you, it's going to cause more trouble. Agree? Yeah. If you rely on the teachings, and it will help you to actually find the tunnel out, a light tunnel. Even though you may not be out completely right away, but at least there is light at the end of the tunnel. You can see it. But it's very difficult at that time to actually deal with that difficult relationships. And knowing that it will pass, it's very difficult to believe that it will pass. When a relationship is so difficult, and you find it very difficult to believe that it will pass. But because you're thinking, because we are thinking using our human mind. We are not thinking using our Dhamma mind. So during situations like this, we need to bring back the Dhamma and arouse your faith in the Dhamma, arouse the confidence in the Dhamma, and knowing this will pass. But it's just a matter of time. But because of my human mind, I want it to pass right now. And it doesn't pass, that's why I'm in agony. So you really need to constantly remind yourself and keep going back into the Dhamma. Otherwise, it's no use learning Dhamma if you're not using the Dhamma to help yourself to deal with difficult relationships, whether with yourself or with others, right? Whether it's with physical incompetence or aging or illness, or with mental disturbance. So I'm emotional, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. It's the same. Agree? Disagree? Disagree? No. Agree. Good. But reflect on it more. Okay. I'm not going to finish with the next one. You can reread the next one again. So any questions on this, or any reflections on this, or any sharing on this?
It's very profound because it just says our world is wet for interpreting to be its insides.
Yeah. 100 years ago, right? 2,000 years ago, and the Buddha already said that. And when we look at the next chapter, the without discoverable beginning, you will find it even more profound. And yeah.
Here, the page that's open on the way in, it says to give others the power over your happiness, something
Ah,
like that, and it kind of fits with
yeah, the
what
worry
you're
and
saying,
turmoil.
the
Yeah,
power is there.
yeah. Oh, you mean my book? Oh, thank you for reading it over and over again. Yeah. Don't give others the power over your happiness. It's true, but we always forget that, don't we? We always forget that, and we always let out our old habits of the mind actually become the master over us, and we follow it so easily. But because we only started to practice, just for very short time, and it bounds to go back and forth all the time. So we just need a lot of patience. Okay, patience. All right. So let us dedicate our merits then. May these blessings extend to all, that we with all the other living beings together will attain the Buddha way. May we wish more and more people will encounter the words of the Buddha, study them, practice them, and help themselves to liberate from their own attachments, entanglements, afflictions, defilements, and attain the ultimate happiness and freedom and peace.